A dull morning, 6 o'clock, just 30 hours before Her Majesty will drive from her palace to Westminster tomorrow morning. A drive that we are going to take today, the shorter route to the Abbey, the longer route from the Abbey back home. And already a few early sightseers, their noses pressed to the railing, watching the changing of the guard that has today moved inside into the forecourt of the palace. And so we're off, moving in the stream of traffic circling the Victoria Memorial, moving as the procession will move right-handed around the memorial. And there one of two curved stands that stand canopied in scarlet, in which will sit Her Majesty's personal friends and servants, gillies from Balmoral, gamekeepers from Sandringham. And so the procession inclines to the left to move up the great processional way of the Mall. The Mall flanked by the green of the plane trees and spanned by the blue of four superb arches. Now we move forward to the fourth and final arch, and ahead lies Admiralty Arch. A fine, bold design, a fouled anchor in scarlet and gold over the ornamental gate in the center. While we move to the side, the procession will take the central arch, the arch used only on royal occasions. And already the early birds have staked their claims on the edge of the pavement, here at the entrance to Trafalgar Square and the slender line of Nelson's Column. This is one of the best vantage points on the route, because the procession passes it 3 times in all before it returns to the palace. The procession that passes across the front of Trafalgar Square and down this Northumberland Avenue. Passes down Northumberland Avenue so that 30,000 schoolchildren who line the embankment shall have a chance of cheering Her Majesty as she passes by. Here Her Majesty moves close to the river, once the royal highway which sovereigns travelled on Coronation Day. And it's on this embankment, under the eyes of our OB cameras, that the children will be massed. The procession now will be approaching the Palace of Westminster, turning right under the clock tower in the face of Big Ben. And yes, it really is 5 to 7 in the morning. It'll be about 5 to 11, 28 hours later, when the gold coach passes here tomorrow. Turning right to approach Parliament Square. Through Parliament Square, where the great blocks of canopied stands in which sit distinguished visitors from colonies and Commonwealth are found. And so out of Parliament Square, and from the tiered stands on the right, our outside broadcast and newsreel cameras will be able to look down on the entrance to the annex to watch Her Majesty, her ministers, and distinguished guests leave their coaches to enter the Abbey. And there is the Abbey. And below it, the annex. And to the left, under the royal coat of arms, the glass canopy where Her Majesty will leave and later re-enter her coach when the coronation service is over. And so we take the return and longer journey round the other side of the Commonwealth stand, to turn left-handed into Whitehall. And as the procession goes down Whitehall, heads will turn to gaze up at the splendid heraldic piece that dominates the roadway, a device wrought exquisitely in silver and gold. Then all eyes will turn to look forward at the standards that line the center of the road, the standards topped with the glistening helmets of the Household Cavalry. Superb replicas of the plumed helmets that adorn the troopers of the Household Cavalry that stand sentinel at the entrance of Horse Guards nearby. On past Trafalgar Square for the second time to the entrance to Pall Mall. This the heart of Clubland, festooned and draped with bunting and banners, royal blue, scarlet, silver and gold. Turning right now to climb the gentle rise of St. James's Street on our way to Piccadilly. Turning left now into one of the most famous names in London, the long, elegant thoroughfare of Piccadilly. And at the far end, Piccadilly spills out into Hyde Park Corner, the busy junction of 6 great roads, and to the right, Apsley Gate, through which the procession will pass. So through Apsley Gate, up the cool green avenue of East Carriage Drive. And at the top end of Hyde Park, the Queen and her procession will drive straight through the centre gate of Marble Arch, just as her great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, drove on her coronation day through Marble Arch when it stood, as it did then, at the entrance to Buckingham Palace. And from the gate, the procession will swing to look up the long shopping highway of Oxford Street. And from Oxford Street, we turn right and south into Regent Street. Here, giant Alexandra roses and banners of matching pink and green lie against the grey elegance of Portland stone. And at the far end, the curving quadrant of this lovely street empties into Piccadilly Circus. And we pass, as the procession tomorrow will pass, Eros in his gilded cage. And with Piccadilly Circus and the Haymarket behind us, we pass, as the procession will pass, for the third and last time, across the front of Trafalgar Square on our way to Admiralty Arch. Back on the last stretch, the Mall. And at this point tomorrow, the procession, which includes women of the 3 services, will have marched over 13 miles. That 13 miles, of course, includes their move in the very early hours of the morning, their move to their starting points, and their move back later that afternoon. But we finish today where Her Majesty will finish her royal drive, at the gates of her palace in London.
So that was the scene early this morning. How different it'll look tomorrow with all the crowds there. This was the Mall at lunchtime, still more than 20 hours before the procession goes by. By now, more sightseers were in position. The early ones had camped out on the pavements during the night, and more had joined them throughout the morning in the sunshine. And despite the wind, despite the rain that was to follow, they were determined to stay on here so as to make sure of a front-line view tomorrow.